First You Think is a not-for-profit ministry of the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. Support us at ucdsm.org today.
This month of November, we're talking about what it means to nurture gratitude, but I think at this point in the service, we can let ourselves off the hook. Bill said what needed to be said. We heard the children's story. I think we get it, right? We understand what gratitude is, and so we can sort of breathe out. I'll give you one nerdy ministerial sentence. It comes from the word gratus, Latin, to be thankful or pleased. It's where we get congratulations or gratified. So there. Now I don't need to spin out 20 minutes on what is gratitude. Instead, I want to address an unnamed crisis. We've been talking about preparation 2 weeks ago. What do we do in case of a fire, right? Last week, how do we prepare our end-of-life decisions? So this week, I want to talk about piano emergencies. Too little discussed. And you're thinking there's no such thing as a piano emergency. Well, you're wrong. I want you to imagine this, a sunny January, Sunday morning. Bruce and I arrive at church at the same time, and it's a new, fresh snowfall, and Bruce isn't wearing gloves, but he packs a snowball and playfully throws it at me. And I'm not wearing gloves, but I take the bait, and we get into a 30-minute snowball fight. It's about 9:25, and I'm going, Bruce, we should probably go in and start the service now. So we dust the snow off, and we come in, and I turn to Bruce, and I say, all right, start the prelude. And he's going, I can't. My hands are too cold. Piano emergency. And you're thinking to yourself, well, that's okay. We thought of this. We called a minister who used to be a church pianist. Why don't you sub in? Well, the joke's on you. I wasn't wearing gloves. I can't play either. So what are we going to do in this contrived scenario that I'm imagining? Now, the obvious thing is to have a third pianist, but I would rather instead teach you all how to play piano in the next 60 seconds. Are you ready? Okay. That's a treble clef, and that's a bass clef. There's notes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. The treble circles a G, so you can tell what the notes are from there, and the two dots circle an F. So that's how you read the notes. That's quarter notes, and those are half notes. The quarter notes are like usually a beat, and the half notes are twice as long. I'm looking at your faces, and I'm thinking that this plan wasn't well thought out. I realize that you probably can't learn to play piano in 60 seconds. That's on me. That was foolish. So let me hone this in a little bit. There's already people that know how to read music, right? You played in a high school band or orchestra, or you're in choir. So I'm going to speak to you all for a second. This actually gets much easier this way. So now that you understand quarter notes and eighth notes and things, okay? The top line's your right hand, and the bottom line is your left hand. So step one, figure out what the right hand is and play that. Step two is a little easier. It's just read the left hand. Now this is the part I need you to pay attention to. Play both hands at the same time. This is where most people get lost. Okay? That's all you need to know. There. Now we've solved for the piano emergency in this completely contrived scenario. And you're laughing because it's absurd that that's how you would learn to play piano, right? I could talk to you for 400 hours and say, okay, on beat 3, your fourth finger plays this. I could talk in great detail, but there's no way you learn to play piano by talking about it. You got to park your butt on the bench and practice it. We could talk about gratitude for 5 years, and it wouldn't matter. It is not just a feeling. It is a practice. It is a thing you do. I want to point out that the fourth Thursday of every November is called Thanksgiving. It's not thanks thinking. And it's not what most people practice, which is thanks feeling. This is a day of feeling thankful. I like it better in Spanish. El Día de Acción de Gracias. Yes, the day of action of thanks, not del sentido de gracias. It's not the feeling of thanks, it's the action of thanks. Gratitude is, at heart, a practice, not just the feeling. There's the feeling when you see your neighbor shoveling your walk on that first snowfall and you go, thank you. There is the feeling when your friend stands up for you in the group of people where you pitched an idea and everyone's piling on your idea and your friend stands up for you. That's a feeling of thanks. But gratitude is a practice. The first practice of gratitude is to notice. To notice something that you took for granted. This is the point of the book that the children heard, right? That Mina took for granted all of these things until she started to notice them. The children are now in Griffin Hall working on a Mary Oliver curriculum, noticing the wonders of the world. Isn't that cool? And we can do the same. So the first practice is noticing that you're still alive, that your heart is beating, and the flood of gratitude that you are here, and then noticing that everyone else's heart around you is beating, and how grateful you are to be with all these beautiful souls. I'm noticing that it's 25 degrees outside in there, and it's 70 in here, and I'm suddenly very grateful for heat. I've noticed when my neighbor is shoveling my walk, or when my colleague stands up for me in a group. That's the noticing part. But the question then is, what is the action part? The giving of thanks. That is something that has to be practiced. So let me model. I notice and am deeply, deeply grateful to serve as your minister. It means the world to me to be called to serve here, and I love this community. But that's a feeling. So the action is that I've purchased you all a gift. I've given everyone a thank you card. It comes with an asterisk, so don't get too happy about it. But if you didn't get a thank you card, we have big stacks of them over at the table there, and perhaps the ushers can bring some to folks that need them. And we also have some pens. So here's the asterisk. I want you to think about someone in your life that you are grateful for. A friend, a family member, someone in this room. Just take a moment to notice someone in your life that you're grateful for. We have this opportunity to practice. I invite you to start a thank you card to that person. I invite you to start a thank you card. If your neighbor could use your help writing it, please offer your help to your neighbor. You do not need to complete the card right now, but I want you to start it so that when you get home later, you go, oh, that's right, I remember this. So I'll give you a moment to write a thank you card to someone, a practice. Now, here's the hard part. I'm going to interrupt you because you just started going now. Drawing from the Stoic philosophers, drawing from Aristotle, we can say this: what you practice repeatedly becomes a habit. The thing that you do over and over becomes your habit. And so we want to be careful as we nurture gratitude to practice it the right way so that it becomes a good habit. I want to tell you this: I learned how to practice music as a 42-year-old teaching a music ed class. That's a little too late. It's not that I didn't practice from 10 to 42. It's that I didn't practice the right way. So there I was in this class. I was teaching people who were going to become orchestra directors and choir directors and band directors. And we were reading through a book that was written by a music education professional and a neuroscientist. That was the part that didn't exist in my world in 1990. So what the book was arguing was how you practice, how you build the habit matters. Here's how I practiced as a kid. It'll sound a lot like how you might have practiced or how your kid practiced or how you've ever heard practice. So step one is play the part that you know as fast as possible because it delights you. And then you get to the part that you don't know. And then you remember that your teacher told you to slow down, and you go. And then that gets boring, so then you go back and you go. And you do that for about 15 minutes until you check it off and you go on to the next song. If this haunts anyone else's memories, I apologize. This is how most of us practice. And what this book was arguing is you're practicing how to make a mistake at that measure. You're building in the habit of how to play that D minor scale wrong over and over and over. And so there I am standing in front of these people who are mortgaging their houses to learn how to be music teachers. And I'm going, I didn't know that until today. Instead, what the book is arguing is do the thing correctly, deliberately, and slowly, and then go faster and faster as you get better at it, because what you're building is myelin, which I didn't know about in 1988. Okay, so as the neurons are connecting to each other to do the task, all sorts of electrical impulses are escaping. And the more you do it, the more often you say to your brain, I need you to do it this way, then myelin, the myelination process wraps around that neural network and makes it quicker and more efficient until it becomes automatic. Whether or not you struggle with that particular sonata or not, you can relate to shoelaces. Watch a 6-year-old tie their shoes. It's so deliberate. Every neuron working so hard to figure out how to tie. It is automatic for most of us. We can tie our shoes as we're talking because you have myelin around that whole process there. And so it matters how we practice. Right, Mina had been practicing competition and comparison. And she'd been practicing it enough, and her mom interrupted that to practice a new habit. How we practice matters. I want to suggest that the way I practiced piano was intuitive. Do the fun part, skip the hard part, right? And then every week, then your teacher has something to do. Think of it this way, I was creating jobs. It's counterintuitive to practice it slowly, right? The intuitive thing about gratitude is this. We say that we will be grateful when we're happy. I don't feel any gratitude now, but when my health clears up, then I'll practice. I don't feel gratitude now, but when my finances stabilize, then I can be grateful. When this relationship stabilizes, then I will be grateful. But right now, I don't have any room for gratitude. I got problems. Right? This is intuitive. And the evidence is counterintuitive. It's not that we will become grateful when we're happy. It's that when we are grateful, we become happy. And this evidence is overwhelming. Here's Brené Brown summarizing her research. She writes, after 12 years of research and 11,000 discrete pieces of data, I did not interview in all of that time a person who would describe themselves as joyful or describe their lives as joyous who did not actively practice gratitude. And for me, it was very counterintuitive because I went into the research thinking that if you're joyful, then you should be grateful. That's the intuitive thing. But it wasn't that way at all. It was that practicing gratitude invites joy into our lives. And when I say practice, and this is the part that changed my life, I don't mean the attitude of gratitude or feeling grateful. I mean actually practicing gratitude. What these folks shared in common was a tangible gratitude practice. If that evidence is so strong, if we know that practicing gratitude makes our lives joyful, why do we not do that all the time? And I want to also just specify that for many of us, depending on our generation and culture, living a happy and joyous life is suspicious. It's a particular, yes? Okay, good. Not the only one. It's a particular Midwestern brand to that, right? And so we can substitute in a life well lived, the Aristotelian word eudaimonia, right? We can substitute in a life of purpose. So instead of thinking it as if I'm grateful, I'll be happy. If I'm grateful, I'll have a life well lived. Why don't we do that if the evidence is so overwhelming? And here is my non-expert opinion. I think our brains lie to us. I'm not a cognitive neuroscientist. I'm not a clinical psychologist. This is just a theological perspective. I want to suggest that our brains lie to us often. Often. The brain is an organ in the human body, and we know what most of the organs do. We know that the liver has something to do with metabolic processes, and the kidneys do some filtering, and the brain is an organ. It has the autonomic processes for your heartbeat, but it also does its main job, perceiving and interpreting. It's taking in its world and then telling a story about it. And we want to tell ourselves that our brains are computers that process facts and data, even though there's no evidence that that's accurate. We want them to be these supercomputers that tell us the truth, but instead they perceive and interpret. And they perceive inaccurately and interpret inaccurately all the time. I want to give an embarrassing but very real example of how my brain lies to me. As you may have known, October 19th, I ran the Des Moines Marathon, and thank you for the $6,500 we raised for the Iowa Transmutual Aid Fund. The thing about running 26.2 miles is that your legs need a few days off. Okay? You're supposed to give them like a week off to recover. And so I did. That's data. But by day 4, my brain was screaming at me. It was saying, "Get up, you lazy bum. You are out of shape. Get up, run." And I'm saying to my brain, "No, I'm not. I just ran the marathon. I'm taking a few days off." And it was screaming at me. And I had to scratch my head and say, what is going on? Because I know what the data is. The best thing for my legs is to take the time off. And then I remembered this. I'm one of those people that gets a runner's high. It's a subpopulation of us. Many people find running to just be tiring. I get it. That's not how I experience it. When I complete the run, I get the oxytocin and serotonin and dopamine. I get a high, right? And it's very, very pleasurable. So if I'm giving my brain that 6 days a week for month after month after month, and then I cut it off on Monday morning, by Thursday, it's perceiving, where's the high, man? And then it has to interpret it. Get up, you lazy bum. You see what I mean? So my brain is lying to me. All of our brains lie to us in different ways. The only thing that could possibly make me happy in this moment is another glass of wine, is another bag of chips, is one more bet. These are ways that our brains lie to us. They lie to us when they tell us that there's nothing to get up for today, that nobody would notice if we didn't get up. Our brains lie to us when they tell us that it's all too much and that we can't possibly. It's an organ. It perceives. It interprets. Now, when other organs start to perceive and interpret less than the whole truth, we notice. I noticed that I couldn't read anything anymore, and I went to the eye doctor this week, and he goes, "Yeah, you need glasses." And so I can get a corrective for that. We notice when we can't hear things going on in a conversation anymore, and they can give us hearing aids. But I don't know of a ready corrective for the lying brain, except gratitude. I do know that gratitude interrupts the lie and gets us closer to a whole, full truth of the world. I invite you, I implore you to make a deliberate practice of gratitude this week. Once a day, every day, like flossing. Mix up how you do it. It could be a call, an email, a knock on the door to your neighbor, a gift. I've started you off with a thank you card. Thank you cards interrupt my lying brain at work when I think it's all too much, and then I stop and I write a thank you card to someone. Mix up who you thank, a friend, a family member, someone in your small group, a colleague, a neighbor. And notice two things. I want you to notice how you feel after that act of giving thanks. And if it's in person, please clock how the other person feels when you express gratitude. Because as Bill had shared, it feels really good. If you are stuck like Nina and you can't think of anything or anyone that you're thankful for, here's a better tip than the one in the book. The book mentions counting your blessings, but Ozan Vorel suggests instead imagining what ifs. Instead of saying, "I'm so grateful for my wife," try imagining if you had never met her. Instead of saying, "I'm so grateful for First Unitarian Church of Des Moines," I want you to imagine a Des Moines where this church never existed. Yeah, that does something different to the brain, right? Because the pleasure of going, my wife, right? That disappears pretty quickly in the brain, but there's a lasting feeling to the possibility that this church could never exist. That's, in some ways, the foundation of Buddhism, and in many ways, the premise of the movie, It's a Wonderful Life. This all makes me think of a poem by Tony Hoagland entitled Butter. I think it was Marie who first taught me the art of spreading flattery on people and then smearing it around like marmalade on slabs of whole wheat bread, or how to spray them lightly with a mist of unexpected praise from one of those special nozzles you attach to the end of your garden hose. Walking around with her that year, I watched how she would lubricate the world. Nuns and firemen, nannies and human resource managers, 9-year-olds in playgrounds, and widows selling flags in the park. Pretty soon, I started doing it myself, telling this person how good they looked today, how rare it is to see a job so well done, how excellent their taste in clothes. I liked the way that even the most crusty and resistant at first would startle under the assault and then start to flourish under the effect. Why did I ever think that approval was gratuitous? Why did it take me so long to see the power of sweetness is as great as the power of the river and the sun? If I can't improve the world by scorching it with truth, if I can't conquer it by twisting its arm behind its back, then give me some adjectives like lipstick and gloss. Give me some language like mint and honey for the heart. I will lavish the world with the power of butter. I will force it to feel good about itself. First, I will make it blush. Then I will step back and watch it shine. There's a joke that haunts musicians everywhere. It assumes when you tell it that you're in New York City. But it goes like this. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? And the answer is practice. Practice. You know how to nurture gratitude? Practice. May it be so.